Hey guys, my name is László Leber. Welcome to my channel Coaching. Today I would like to show you that how you can use the server-side rendering technique with React 18. When you are using a traditional single-page application which is built and also loaded inside your browser, then the components are rendered on the client side inside your browser, and the whole HTML content is produced by your application on the client side in the browser. But with the server-side rendering technique, we can do it on the server side. So we are able to render the React application, for example, on the server side inside the Node.js application, for example, and we can produce the whole HTML content on the server side and we can send it to the client side. I had a server-side rendering solution tutorial a few years ago, but since React 18 is out, we can have a different approach. First, why server-side rendering is good? Because, for example, the search engine robots can cache your websites easily, because the content will be there when the page is loaded. It's a more faster and smoother solution from the user experience point of view, and overall it's a faster solution. So, but in the old way, previously, the Node.js had to wait for the whole content to be produced by the Node.js application because before it could send it to the client side. Now we will using a Pipeable stream. We will use the render Pipeable stream function. With this function, we are able to stream our components to the client side as soon as they are ready. It's a more smoother solution, faster, because the components will be able to be rendered on the client side as soon as they are ready. So let's get started and check out that how it's working. Okay, let's start in an empty folder and first call npm init to initialize a Node.js application. Okay, my application is initialized. Here you can see the package.json. I'm just replacing this description with a more appropriate one for me. Okay, let's create an empty bootstrap.js file. We will use it later. Okay, now I'm creating a React application with npx create react app tool, and I'm calling it SSR-client. Here we go, our React application generated. Here is its package JSON file, and now I'm moving these dependencies to the main package.json. I'm installing Express first, and I'm putting these React dependencies into the dependencies section here. Okay, I'm calling npm install now, and I'm removing this main property from here. We don't need it now, and I'm placing the workspaces section here, and I'm putting the SSR-client workspace into the array, and I'm defining the scripts. First, the start server. We call the bootstrap.js with Node, and I'm defining the start client. For this, I'm installing the crossenv package. I'm using crossenv to start the application on port 3008, and I'm calling npm start, and I'm passing the SSR client workspace as a parameter. And also for the build, I have build client, and now I'm installing the babel dependencies. First is the plugin syntax dynamic import will be used inside Node.js, and also I'm installing preset env from Babel and preset react. And also I'm installing the Babel register and the Babel plugin dynamic import node. And the last one is the ignore styles. Now please open the react app.js file. We will prepare our React application now, the client-side application. So the first thing is to create a new file named cars.js. Inside this JS file we will have cars component, and also create the CSS file for it. We are defining a simple CSS for the root, and we will have an h2 definition here. Inside the JS file we are importing the CSS, and we are creating div with root class and also a car list and a header using h2. And we have 4 cars here inside this list. We exporting this component, and we will using it here. We lazy load this component inside the app.js. So we are using lazy from the React package. The next thing is to create a loading screen. We will use Suspense, and until our component is not ready we will show loading text. And here we are using the Suspense. The fallback component is the loading screen, and inside this we are putting a header with this text, for example, and we are putting the cars component here. Okay, the CSS of application looks like this one. It's not so important, so I will be fast. You can copy it from the repository. Now create a new file named app.ssr.js. This will be used on the Node.js side, on the server side. We will render this component. It has a property bootstrap CSS, which is a list of strings. We will pass file names, CSS file names, to this component, and it will put them to the header. You can set the title, the meta tags, and everything. And here we map through this list and put the link definition using the paths here. And we have a body, we have the root div, and we pass the app component inside of the div root. Here we go. Now we can test our client-side application. So we can call npm run start client, and you can see here it's running on the port 3008. One moment. And now it started. Here you can see the application, the running application, and it's a traditional way. So we are running our client-side application inside the browser. So when the first response arrives, then we can see here that the root div is empty, and it's populated by the client-side application inside your browser. And now we will create the server-side rendering functionality. So open the bootstrap.js file, and we will set up our Babel config here. So we require ignore styles because in this tutorial we are not rendering the CSS. We will just using the builded CSS, and we will inject them to the header. But with the babel register we are registering preset temp, preset react, and also we are configuring the plugins. So put these plugins here as well. We will use dynamic imports inside Node, so we need them. You can copy the package names from the package.json file. I'm stopping my client-side application because we won't need it anymore in this form. And require server.js. We will write the server.js file soon. So create this file. The main thing will happen here. And the first thing is to import everything we will need. So React DOM server, the path, the app SSR component from the client folder, and Express and FS. With Express we are able to create a web server. So we are set up this Express here. I will have two lists of file names here. First is the Bootstrap scripts and Bootstrap CSS. Here I set up a static path route. For this one, please build the client-side application. So call npm run build client. It will produce the static JS and CSS files. And for server-side rendering, we will need the first main.js that contains the starting point. So okay, this is the static path which contains the static files. Also, please put in the client-side React applications package JSON this homepage property and set it to ./ssr-client/build, because the root will be the Node application, but when the browser wants to load the static files, it will look it into this folder. Okay, so now I'm creating a function that will find the file names of the static JS and CSS files, and it will put these file names into the to array constant. So you can see here the main.js file. We will need it. So I filter the file name. We start with main dot and ends with .js. Okay. And in case of the CSS, we will need all. Okay, I'm calling this function to have the Bootstrap scripts and Bootstrap CSS file names. Okay, and now we will write the main thing, the server-side rendering. We are defining the main root. It's a /root, and inside of this, first we are writing socket on error. If we will have any error, and we are writing this fatal error text here. I'm defining did error by default is false, and we will set it true in case of any error during the streaming. Okay, and here we are using the React DOM server that render to Pipeable stream function. The first parameter is the component. It's the app SSR component that we created before. We pass in the Bootstrap CSS file names. And the second parameter is an option or option object, and we pass in the Bootstrap scripts. It will inject these scripts as in a script tag in the browser. And in the onShare ready, we are setting the status code, which is 500 in case of error and 200 in case of OK. In case of any other case, basically here in this tutorial. And we are setting the header, which is text/html, and we are calling stream.pipe, and we are passing in the response. Okay, the second thing is the onError. In case of this, we are setting the didError variable to true, and we are console log the error itself. Okay, now we are defining another route for the static files. They could be found on this path, and we are using express.static. This is important to be able to load the static files in the browser. So, and we are calling applisten on the port, and it will start our application. Okay. Now go to the index.js of the client React application, and we will use the hydrate here. So write React DOM client that hydrate. The hydration is a method that will only attach the events on the DOM elements on the browser and won't render the React components again. So when the client gets the content from the server side, the hydration will only attach the required event handlers on the DOM elements and won't render the whole component again. Now we can start our application. So call npm run server, and here you can see that on port 3009 my Node.js application is running, and here you can see that the server side rendering is working. So we have the whole content here coming in the first request response, and also the Bootstrap script is here. You can find the main script, and other script is loaded by this lazy loading. So the main script injected, and the main script loading the other scripts that required. So here you can find this chunk is loaded by the main script, but the main content is here, rendered by the server side and arriving to the browser with the first request response, and also the CSS injected in the header. So everything is working as expected. Here you can see the final DOM, the scripts in the body, and in the header you can find the other chunks which is loaded by the main script, and also the CSS that was injected by us in the app SSR component. Yes, everything is ready, I think. Here you can see the official documentation, and here you can see that, for example, the render to Pipeable stream, the React Node parameter should be a component that should render the HTML tag itself For example, here you can see an example. And now check the logs. Here you can see 3 console log, but if I reload the page, we have 1 more. So the console log is working on the server side. This console log is coming from our React component. App SSR component injects our original app component, which lazy loading the cars component and inject it in its children. And here is the list. And finally, you can see here that it was rendered on the server side. And if I open the original source, you can see here that the content is here, all the cars and everything. So server-side rendering was successful. Okay, thank you very much for watching. It was my tutorial about the server-side rendering solution inside React 18. If you like this tutorial, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You will find many interesting tutorials on this channel in the future as well. Please press the like button if you like this tutorial, and thanks again. Have a nice day. Bye.